Welcome to the Out of Darkness podcast, an In Darkness, Into Light media production. 1 year anniversary. Hey, as I said, welcome to the Out of Darkness show. I am your host, Brent. This is the show where we talk and discuss all things supernatural, paranormal, occultic, and strange phenomena. But we have these conversations by analyzing them from the lens of Scripture using a biblical worldview. This is a very, very special episode for us because,
Happy 1 year anniversary.
Yeah, guys, we have been doing this for 1 year. And it's been a wonderful roller coaster ride to a certain extent, but has led to some really, really big, also simultaneously big opportunities. So we're just on here to talk about the highs and the lows and what we intend on doing with the podcast in the future. And I haven't introduced her yet, but she needs no introduction. I'm with the lovely Lydia today.
Hello, all.
So, well, what do you think about this this crazy journey that we've been on with this podcast?
It's been a good year. We've been able to successfully put a podcast out once a month. I know initially we wanted to do it more, but we realized that with all the research that needs to go on, once a month is good. But we're going to try something different. We're going to try to do 2 podcasts a month this year, but one doesn't require any research. All it's going to be is either Brent or I reading a Charles Spurgeon sermon.
Mostly me. Mostly me. We have a tradition every year around Christmas, and I hope you guys were blessed by that. But one of the things that we started doing years ago, actually, we've been doing this for going on, I think, about 6 years or so, roughly.
Something like that. I can't remember.
But what I end up doing on Christmas is I basically just read a sermon that Charles Spurgeon preached on Christmas Day. So essentially, we're just going to pick a day of the month, and I'm going to find a sermon for that month and basically read that. Hopefully, Lord willing, I'll be able to find some backing music of some kind. That's definitely something that we're going to be doing a little different. As far as like Lydia said, so there's a lot of research that goes into these podcasts, and anybody that really knows how podcasts and these types of shows work can totally understand where we're coming from on that. So those are going to still stay out once a month, as far as I know. We have our other co-host, Cleveland. We had to pump the brakes a little bit, mainly because he's actually helping me personally with a completely different project. And it's actually going to be, well, in about a week or so, they're going to be launching it officially. But I actually have another project that is requiring way more effort and way more work. Even though that I'm about 5 weeks ahead, I can't just stop now. But this is the first I'm officially actually announcing what this project is. I don't know if I've ever said. Do you remember if I said it on here, Lydia?
I don't remember. I know you've hinted at it, but drum roll, please. What is it?
So, look, do you mind if I tell the backstory a little bit? Like, instead of just telling people what it is?
If you want, that's your choice.
So, this past October was a very interesting month. So on the 10th of October, I think it was, or the 11th, I don't remember which now, I had a doctor's appointment in Nashville with my neurologist. And after fighting for months and months and months on diagnoses, on trying to understand all this stuff that's been going on with me throughout the year, last year, I was diagnosed with what's called functioning neurological disorder. This isn't really the platform, I would say, that I want to give you guys all the details on that, but it is just extremely complicated. There's non-epileptic seizures. There's blackouts. There's like my legs will drop out from under me on occasion. I mean, really, Lydia's the one that's been helping the most. I don't know why you don't want to talk, but okay.
No, you were telling your story, so I was just listening.
Well, you can interject.
I try and help.
Yeah, she's been helpful. So this particular night, one of my good friends wanted to have a bonfire in kind of like a camp out. I was not okay with staying the night just because I am a handful to deal with, especially if I'm in a place that I'm not horribly comfortable in, and I'm only like maybe 20 minutes away from my friend's house. So, but my other good friend and co-host Cleveland, he and I had talked for hours and hours and hours that night because he wanted to understand what I was going through and stuff. And I looked at him. I'm like, well, dude, I can't really work outside the home anymore because the condition. I mean, Lydia would probably agree with me. This condition is extremely unpredictable. Like we never know day to day, hour to hour.
Yeah, that's true. It's good days and bad days. Like, but I don't want to talk too much about it.
No, I'm not going to go too deep into FND in general, but so that conversation led to Cleveland. Now, it's funny because like people don't know this side of Cleveland, but he's a straight up businessman when he wants to be. He literally gave me the hold that thought and pulled out his phone and made a couple of phone calls. I'm like, what's going on here? And even when I told Lydia like the next morning as to what happened, she was like, what? So basically, like there was an idea pitched. So for those of you that don't know, Cleveland has a media company. That media company does a lot of everything. They do TV, they do satellite, they do radio, but radio is like their biggest thing that they do. At any rate, so the next week, I get a phone call from one of Cleveland's partners from his media company. And I was like, okay. Well, make a long story short, by the end of October, they professionally commissioned me to do a radio show. And I'm still a bit in disbelief, actually.
And what is the title and
it
subject?
is Whiskey, Tobacco, and Blues. And so
anyone that knows Brent, those are his 3 topics.
Yeah, I mean, shouldn't be a surprise for anybody that's out there because, well, there's like a blue slide on the beginning of this.
Yeah.
But so what that entails is basically I pick an artist, whether it's in my collection or not in my collection, and we essentially say the whole story of their life from start to finish, and then try to involve different musicians that are, like a representation of that sound or whatever, or the artist.
Yeah, but that's what he's going to be working on. That's a reason why, the podcast is going down to once a month. But we wanted to do the twice a month thing of just something him reading Charles Spurgeon sermons because those are always uplifting. Charles Spurgeon is one of our favorite pastors. And it
was also made known to me that there's a lot of people that are wanting that now. And, I have the resources, I might as well do it. But as far as like we don't really know what this year is going to bring. There's a couple of things that we're going to try to do.
But no guarantees.
No guarantee. One of which is related to the Whiskey, Tobacco, and Blues project. We're going to start a YouTube. I haven't posted anything yet. But with that being said, it's going to be in association with everything that's going on. So
yeah.
I don't want to go reveal all the cars just yet because like there's some really, really cool, exciting stuff in the works. There is one thing though that for this podcast, Lydia and I are kind of tossing around a little bit, which is going up to West Virginia. Now I know you guys out there are probably like, why West Virginia? Well,
because Mothman Festival.
There actually is a Mothman Festival. And so we're thinking about trying to go up there and go to the Mothman Festival. And, I don't know if we can do a live stream from that because I'm not really that super familiar with doing live streams, but we will try to record.
And like I said, this is all subject to change because we literally just have to take one day, 1 month at a time right now because of a lot of moving parts. Sorry if I sound out of breath. I've been putting away stuff and then a lot of dust. So
Yeah, we tend to put all of our Christmas stuff away on January 1st.
well, for several reasons because I'm off from work and I've been it's just easy because I love Christmas, but I don't like the clutter.
Now, this will be fun for you since you haven't really been in on every episode. I mean, yeah, you've been involved but not involved.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you, Lydia. I want to ask you this: what was your favorite moment, like in our podcast? Do you have a favorite moment, a favorite episode? Like what is that for you?
I like doing evil because I know. Sorry, it's towards the end of the year, but I like doing it. I like rewatching the episodes and seeing things. I know that sounds crazy, but I like
No, it doesn't. So evil is your pick.
Yeah, that's just
That's
mine.
surprising, actually. Because I mean, we also did the one about Ed and Lorraine Warren. That's by no means my favorite episode, though. Actually, I would say the obviously, like you guys probably already know, I'm going to say this, but the episodes with Cleveland, Occultic Tennessee, that has been probably my favorite series to do. Because really it's just a conversation, like there's not too much involved in as far as on my end is concerned, but there is some stuff that we've had to analyze, so like for example, like Cleveland's kind of the historian, just kind of like Lydia as well. Like they both love history. They love doing that research. And I like doing the worldview and the philosophy aspect of it because that's super important when you're going into stuff. Okay. So, yeah, that's Lydia's favorite series. That's my favorite series. So what would you say was a low point in the past year?
I don't really know, like necessarily of a low point. I can't really think of because I think if every podcast is a success, putting it out requires work, and I've always. Especially with your condition now, when you get something done, big or small, you need to acknowledge that accomplishment. So I can't really think of one. I don't really think of it in that terms.
I think my biggest struggle was while I was getting diagnosed, there was something very strange going on with my voice, and sometimes it's very noticeable, other times it's not. But the other really, really tough thing that I have to deal with is disassociation. So like you guys only hear the finished product, okay? Like there's a lot of struggle on my end because disassociation basically is kind of like 1,000-yard stare. Your brain just gets overloaded and go blank. And there was one time I thought I was recording my voice for like 5 minutes and realized that I absolutely said nothing. So I would say those are my low points, I would say. So one last thing, and then we'll kind of like improv from there. What's going to be like, if you could pick a future project, right? Not necessarily related to the Whiskey, Tobacco, and Blues. I'm just talking about the podcast now. What's the one thing that we've talked about or like a topic that you are excited to actually try to do related to the podcast?
Maybe address feminism and the occults.
Okay.
And New Age.
That's a huge topic, though.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be like a multi-episode topic.
It will be.
I think I got to figure out when that festival is, but that's still been one of my favorite ideas that we came up with. Is to go up to West Virginia. It's not that super far away from us in Middle Tennessee. It's still a ways, but it's not super far away.
Yeah.
And so really like we don't really, surprisingly, like I know that this may sound like strange for some because a lot of podcasters out there have like everything, every I dotted, every T crossed, but because I have this other project, we don't really know entirely like what the future is going to hold for the podcast. We will still be putting out episodes and stuff like that, but it's exciting, but also nerve wracking, I would say. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that we were going to talk about, unless I missed something.
No, that was going to be it. It's going to be sweet, short and sweet. And like I said, with Brent's not able to read it, the Charles Spurgeon sermon that week. I'll take it up and read it. But the goal is the second Wednesday of the month for Charles Spurgeon sermon, and then the fourth, as normal, the podcast. So even though we were supposed to put out the podcast in December, we kind of took a hiatus and moved it back to this podcast to this Wednesday so we could do a year anniversary. So expect 3 podcasts out technically in this month.
Technically
So,
speaking.
but like I said, you're either going to hear me read it or Brent read it. But that's what we want to do, is just expose people to the wonderful preachings of Charles Spurgeon. So.
Yeah, and this project would have never existed had I not had listeners. So I know that there's podcasts that are way bigger than ours, and I'm just grateful in a lot of ways that we even have listeners.
Yeah.
And so truly, deeply from the bottom of my heart, the ones that are dedicated listeners to the people that just ran across our podcast, thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart. This, like Lydia and I have said, this hasn't really been a good year. The 2024 was an extremely, extremely rough year. Lydia was still on the mend. She's still technically on the mend, but at least she has a little bit more freedom now.
I would say it's a rough year, but for me, I was very grateful for it because it was sanctifying. And I would not trade anything I went through for anything in the world, because it has built my faith in Christ to rely on Him even more. So whatever hits me, I can trust Him to provide my daily bread. And I've been forever grateful for that with whatever has happened. So I wouldn't trade it. Yes, it has been rough, but it's been worth it for me.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, despite everything,
my faith in Christ is built, and so I feel like no matter what hits me, I can trust in God with the outcome.
The thing is with my condition, right? So like we weren't necessarily blindsided in this past October, but it was definitely a bit shocking, I would say, for both of us. But
Yeah.
what's crazy is how much stuff is really involved, and like it would be hard for me to tell you guys all the symptoms, because some of them are like, that's a symptom. Yeah, it's a symptom. But you know, with that, guys, we're just like we just wanted to come on here, do a quick podcast. Quick for us, anyways. Because when we get on a topic, sometimes we kind of lose ourselves in that topic, which. I mean, that's what makes it fun, right? So, like, that's why I love doing podcasts. And, this radio show is going to be, it has to keep me in line. Like, and it was funny, too, because, like, unfortunately, it didn't come out the way that Cleveland and I wanted it to, so we have to re-record it. But I did an episode with him already on one of the blues albums that I have. And let's put it this way. It was fun. It was cool. But yeah, so we'll give you guys updates as time goes on, as far as what we're doing. Oh, and here's an update. So I think I told you this, Lydia, but I'm not sure. Apparently they're trying to do a season 5 of Evil. So
Oh yeah, you mentioned that in passing.
yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it, what it's going to look like, how they're going to do it. You okay over there? All right. Well, I think that's all we have to say for now, guys. Like I said, I really appreciate it. Just the listeners and the encouragement along the way. And, we hope that you guys continue to listen to the show and you understand that, like, this is one of Lydia and I's passions is to just, educate. And I see this podcast as a means to be able to do that. I also see it as a means to share the true gospel of Jesus Christ. So, with all that said, I encourage you guys to think about the things that we've talked about and analyze them from your own point of view. You decide what you believe in, who you believe in. If you have any suggestions of topics that you'd like us to discuss or inquiries about the Out of Darkness podcast, please reach out to us via Facebook or Instagram, or you can email us at indarknessandlight@gmail.com. That's all for now. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more content. God bless.